Cool, there's not much room there, is there? Ooh. But again, this station has been completely knocked down. They're rebuilding this at the moment. Anything in the vending machine worth having? No. Red lights nicely on the rear there. Ah, see, now it's flicked over to 10:54 London Victoria. So that's going to London Victoria. Where's that calling at? This train calls at East Croydon, Clapham Junction and London Victoria. So, excuse me, driver. Thanks very much. Wait till 10:32. We'll quickly get out then. Just turn on all our safety systems as we drive these trains properly, not like half of the Wallies currently influencing. Right, we'll close our doors. Open our window. Why have you got it in? Alright, away we go. So we've got a green signal, East Croydon at 10:47. So we were saying, oh, these have got a maximum speed of 100, sorry, not 90 that I said earlier. But they do have speed control, so we can set that slowly. Up to 75. Activate it. Put it into notch 4. And just let the train do its thing. Right, we've got our red lights on. Have we got red lights on the rear though? We should do, because this was a train in service. Yeah. And away we go. East Croydon. This is one of the better features of the 377 is the cruise control. Again, this is a semi-fast service, so you can get ones that stop at every single station, and that takes about an hour, I think, hour and 20 minutes. Rogan, are the levels alright, by the way, if you're still here? So it's quite a way to East Croydon, but we have actually got a stop there, so excellent, thank you. Here's our DSD. Right, we're slowly approaching 90 now. And the great thing with the speed control is that when we get to about a mile from the 80, we just click it to 80 and it slows us down. But we have to leave it in notch 4 on the power, so I don't think Southern like their drivers using the speed set controls, because it breeds complacency. So there goes that express, Gatwick Express to Brighton, calling it Gatwick Express and Brighton. But yeah, I don't think they like the drivers using it, just because it breeds complacency, but I personally think it's safer. But that's just me. because it controls my braking, it controls everything to a degree, because it reduces the power to get me to that speed. So I think it's a safer way of driving, but I don't work for a TOC, I work for a FOC. And some of you are probably wondering, what the hell does he mean by TOC and FOC? Well, TOC is Train Operating Company, which means passenger trains, and FOC means Freight Operating Company in railway speak. But I'm sure if you're here watching this stream, you've probably got an idea of what that meant anyway. But for those of you that don't, now you know. Right, see, we're at the 80 board now, and we are at 79 mile an hour, so it's sorted us out. Right, so we've got 11 miles to East Croydon. We're going back into a 90 just round this curve. Cancel our DSD. Crank up the speed adjust back to 90. Just let the train do its thing. So what do you think of the route, guys? I know this has been out a little while, but it's now working without the texture glitches and stuff at the degree that we were getting them before on the Xbox. I know on PlayStation 5 and PC there hasn't been any problems, but I'm on Xbox Series X. You know that I play on Xbox Series X, so what do you want to see me do differently? If anything. You're my audience, I'm the content creator. Feedback is key. I'm not like some streamers that throw their toys out the pram. If you say something's rubbish, I want to know. Oh, I've run out of jelly bellies. That's a shame. And if you don't want to comment in the chat, that's absolutely fine. Maybe comment on the YouTube upload that'll be up tomorrow, and I'll cut it up so that each route is on its own video for once, instead of you having to watch a 3-hour marathon just to see a little bit of a route you wanted to. That's a 89 mile an hour, and the speed limit set to 90. 7 miles now, 7.7 miles to East Croydon. And then we'll be back at London Victoria after that. Oh no, we're stopping at Clapham Junction as well, aren't we? See, that's the only problem with this, is you should have a little bit of paper here that is dynamic. That if you forget where your calling points are, that this list here, this list that tells you where you're stopping, which is what we call in the industry a diagram, would be on a little bit of printed paper that you could zoom in on and see where you were calling at. Just to add another little bit of realism, because the driver in real life would have somewhere here, probably down here, that piece of paper, and he'll have a highlighter pen. So when he's called at a station, he will mark it off, so he knows, or she knows, that they've been to that station and everything was okay. Right, so we've got 5 miles to East Croydon, so we'll think about slowing down in a few moments. Right, so we are slowly knocking those miles off towards East Croydon at 90 mile an hour. I'm imagining we're probably going to get some weird not weird signalling, but different signalling at East Croydon again, because we'll probably get moved over at East Croydon or Clapham Junction to suit our run into Victoria. Right, 3.5 miles to our next stop. Oh, cab desync. Lucky the DSD audio came in then, because normally when you get that cab desync the sound goes as well for a minute. Right, 2.2 miles to the 60. So as we're doing 90 at the moment, if we set that to 60, we should start to see the speed come down. Cool, well, it's at time already. And I like how not all stations are super busy. Right, so that's the AWS for the 60, which we're already slowing down for. As you can see, we've lost 20 miles an hour, and the speed is still coming off nicely. So we should be at 60 for the 60 board, without any brake application. Yeah, there we go, we're at 60. Just as we are on approach to the 60 board, which is the perfect way to drive the train. It's always to be at your speed boards before you get there. The speed of the speed board before you get there. Otherwise it's naughty. But what I mean is, oh, that, oh, blooming hell. Well, we just lost the windscreen there, folks. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, you want to be sort of slowing down before the board, before you get to the board, so that you're at the speed about 100 yards before the board in theory, which we were then. So I'm just bringing our speed down a little bit more manually because we're on approach to the station. The station's not that far away. Alright, what was that for? 2 yellows, number 1. Very short signals here, as you can tell. Single yellow. Like I said, we've been moved right out the way here. So there's probably a couple of expresses to come past us. Alright, 30 mile an hour at the ramp, brake into notch 1. So we've got a red at the end of the platform in theory. Again, no AWS horn, and I forgot to push the button even though I noticed that it was there. So this has now given us a brake demand on the TPWS. So We now just have to wait for it to time out, but I doubt the rear of the train is in a position, but we can unlock the doors anyway. Only one set of doors is off the platform, I think. Yep, one set of doors off the platform. So we just close those doors. We've still got a red at the end of the platform, so we'll just pop our DRA on. So we're 2 minutes early anyway, so the brake demand has now cleared itself. So we are good to move forward, but we do have that red. So we ain't going nowhere yet. Right, so at 47 minutes and 30 seconds we'll lock the doors, but we are probably waiting for a path into Clapham Junction at the moment. So if we have a quick look at the map, just see if we can spot anything that could be hindering our path. Not that I can see. Ah yeah, we're waiting for that train, I guess. Right, so we'll just lock our doors. We've got the DRA on, so let's just knock that off and just slowly start creeping up to the signal. Just in case we're not in a point to trigger it. Right, so it's there you go, 2 yellows straight to a green, so we're good to go. So what we'll do is we'll set it to 30, activate it. Now up to 45 because the back end of the train has cleared that 45 at the beginning of the platform, and we'll just drive with the controller. Speed controller, that is. Right, so we've got an increase in the speed. We'll up the auto speed control to 60, approaching at 70, so when we see the 70 board we'll count to 10. As that's how long it should take the 8 cars to pass the board. At 60. Put that theory to the test as we go past the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. Speed has increased to 70. So we'll put the speed limiter up to 70. So we're now Clapham Junction, platform 12 in 7 minutes. Again, we're going to get slowed down going into Clapham Junction because it's a very busy bit of railway. Cancel our DSD. 70 mile an hour still. Hurtling towards Clapham Junction. People walk behind the yellow line. Right, so we got 2 miles to a 60. We're only 10 miles an hour over that. So when we get to a mile, we'll change our speed set to 60, and it should slow us down. Unless we get some change of aspects. So by change of aspect, I mean the signalling goes from green to 2 yellows. And then we will manually intervene and put some brakes on. Cancel that DSD, set it to 60 now, slightly ahead of time, but I think we're going to need to slow down a little bit more than that. I can't remember what's coming up ahead of us. So we're at 60, half a mile before the 60 board. But I'm very wary of our time. So I'm just trying to regulate ourselves a little bit so that we're not arriving too early at Clapham Junction. You've really got to be Johnny on the spot with your time in there. There's a green somewhere in the trees there. So we're just a mile away from Clapham Junction now, or 2 miles as the crow flies. It's just starting to get a bit busy on the old railway again, so I reckon we're probably going to get signalled down again. Because as you can see, there's a slow service coming alongside us. It's probably booked into Victoria ahead of us, so we'll probably be in a race with that one. So we've got 45 coming out of Clapham Junction, so we'll turn the speed set off, and we'll just coast now. 1.5 miles to Clapham Junction, so gravity can do the work here. As we go past Drake in his black and orange coat again. Little wave to the driver coming in the opposite direction. Not that I've ever known a southern driver to wave at you when you'd wave at them going past them. Right, 2 yellows. So we will just slowly start to apply the brakes again. Signal sections won't be very long in the run up to Clapham Junction, so they can cram more trains in. There you go, there's already our single yellow. And again, no AWS horn, so we've had a penalty brake application, so I didn't see it change. Excuse me. Again, I hope this bug they are aware of. Doing my nutting. So we now have to wait for that to time out, which is going to make us late. I'm not sure why it does it. I'm not sure why it works and then it doesn't work. but it is annoying me. Excuse me. Right, there we go. Brakes have released, so we will just floor it and try and see if we can arrive in 30 seconds, half a mile away. Not going to happen. We're going to be late. But we have also got to be careful of our next signal aspect, because we had a single yellow at the last one. So in theory our next signal should be red, but it's actually green. Alright, 30 at the platform ramp. So we'll just apply a little bit of braking now. We have got a proceed aspect at the end of the platform. So we had a green at the last one, so we're either going to have a single yellow, double yellow, or a green. We have a green. Right, there we go. Clapham Junction. We're only going to be about 30 seconds late. But I told you, that slow service will get there before us. No photos, no photos. Don't want any photos. Alright, let's lock those doors. And the next station is platform 18, London Victoria. Alright, so we're straight to line speed again until we get off the end of the platform, and then we're at 45. There's the warning board for the 45. Now, like I say, if you were on the tracks on the left-hand side of the train at the moment, you'd be going into Waterloo. But these tracks that we're on now curve off to London Victoria. Although you can go to Waterloo from these tracks. They do. You can go across to go to Waterloo instead of Victoria, if it was there, but it's not there in the game. So we're now going to bend round here and head on our merry little way to Victoria. So we're in theory heading towards Battersea at the moment. You'll see the power station in a few moments as we come round the curve. Here it is, Battersea Power Station just hoving into view. Now again, on our approach into Victoria, we need to be very mindful of our aspects and our signalling, because it is very short sections very quickly. And again, there's lots of other, like, there we go, restrictive aspect that's just gone up to a green. Just as we were coming towards it, it went from 2 yellows to a green. So I'm just going to be mindful that we may get stopped before we get into Victoria. So 2 yellows up ahead, so yes, we are going to be stopped before we get into Victoria. So what we will do is we will turn off the active speed control. Make sure we acknowledge all our AWS's. So that's 2 yellows, so we're going to stop just before the station. There's a network, we're going to come up alongside a 465 in a moment. We need to start slowing down because we've got a 20 mile an hour ahead because we're going across some point work. No AWS horn at that signal, so luckily I was paying attention. So single yellow. Platform 18, so we're going straight into the platform. There's that networker again, going into the southeastern side of the station. So we're heading into the southern side. As we are a southern service. Alright, so we will just apply the brakes down to 15 mile an hour so we don't trigger the TPWS towards the grid, towards the buffers. Just going over that now. Any faster than 15 mile an hour, you're going to get a brake application. Got no lights on, mate. Alright, so we'll apply our brake. Slowly get ourselves down to a nice stop at the buffers. And stop. Alright, so that's the end of the route for us. So that to emergency, that to off, take out the master key, headlights off, tail lights on. Although we won't be able to actually lock the doors. Just better push that to neutral for a minute. There we go. So that's a gold medal. A few issues there with the AWS, but that's out of our control. That's not something I can do. So yeah, we took it from Gatwick Airport to London Victoria. So